Hello everyone, greetings from Klaipėda in Lithuania. Klaipėda Piano Masters has already reached the half of its running time in 2025, and today is the day for our very first podcast. We have never done this before, and today, for the very first occasion, who knows, maybe those podcasts will be someday a tradition. We have a wonderful guest, one of the most prolific pianists of his generation, a pianist whom I've known since my studies in Hanover. Joining us today, I think also from Hanover, or at least from somewhere in Germany, is one of the most known pianists from the Republic of China today, Haiou Zhang. Haiou, I have a very first question before I give you to our students who all prepared questions to you. Basically, today's students will want to learn from your own experiences. Obviously, you had great experiences because otherwise you wouldn't have had this kind of career, but also you might have had bad experiences. Would you like to kick off our podcast today with some anecdote about something crazy that has happened to you behind the stage or on the stage, just to loosen up our students and to kick off our conversation on a funny note?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, despite the summertime, now I clearly remember that was the year of 2000. That must be something like 2010, 2011. Back in the summer, I was preparing for orchestra concerts, the Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto, the number one. Back then, I had a manager for some time, and I was practicing the Tchaikovsky Concerto very heavily during the summertime. Even some of my neighbors was not really happy about it. So in the end, I went to the place where the concert should take place and it was somewhere not really close. I have to go by train first and then take the ferry over the sea, and then that's the island where the concert take place. So I went to the rehearsal straight away. So suddenly I had the feeling there's something not right. Because I saw from the concertmaster and the rest of these string players from their partiture, it's shown that this is not, from the couple of bars, it didn't show there's something not really familiar for me. That was not really Tchaikovsky concerto. So later on, before we started rehearsal, I found out that I prepared the Tchaikovsky concerto number one, and the whole orchestra prepared the Chopin concerto number one. We were not on the same page. So basically, there was no rehearsal any possible, and Chopin Concerto 1 was not on my fingers. So basically, that's it. In the end, they changed the program with no concertos. They asked me to play a half recital. Basically, they played Beethoven symphonies and half piano recitals. There were no rehearsals, and that was one of the very interesting stories I ever had. So I could remember one passage from Arthur Rubinstein once he prepared the Beethoven Concerto 4, and the orchestra prepared Fifth Concerto. They didn't know each other. They started with dissonance at the very beginnings, and that was the end of the story. So in my case, I didn't really even start. And yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to share.
Hi, my name is Nurai. So I prepared one question for you. I know that you played Mozart Piano Concerto number 21, and the third movement was used in the movie La Casa de Papel, which is my favorite movie. So my question is, how did you feel when you hear your own recording in such a famous movie? And also, how did they ask you for doing this? And last question, if something happened in your career as a pianist after this project?
Thank you. Nice to meet you, and thank you for your question. About this, actually, it came out of a surprise. I didn't know it myself, and just one day, my label told me about the soundtrack. I'm not really Netflix subscriber, and I do not watch Netflix at all, actually. And so I really took time to watch this a little bit. I found that scene about where my music was played, and I found that interesting. And later on, I watched more episodes out of it, and that was a little bit more my my Netflix experience. Of course, I felt very exciting to see that became one of the soundtrack, because this recording, especially this concerto back then, after the release, it was not really easy. There's some critics from the music, from some reviews, were a little bit have criticized the tempo a little bit, was a little bit too fast or a little bit too dramatic. And in the end, I found this very interesting that they found this soundtrack. And later on, of course, I mean, I saw through these, there are so many clicks on the Spotify and also, I mean, as an artist myself, I just felt really happy because back then, facing to the critics was not really easy. I was hoping, yeah, everything is great and this and that, but there were some, not only on my own behalf, from the orchestra, from the conductor, they also wanted something different. But in the end, I think the music itself found its place, especially for something like these out of the classical music song, which was a very good surprise. So what I wanted to say is always leave the things open, and there are things coming to you, sometimes out of your expectation, and I think that's best.
Okay, thank you. And moving on, I would like to ask you, what is your relationship with improvisation?
Thank you for your question. Actually, I wanted to be able to compose a little bit more. That's a story. Came back to 2000. Oh, I can't remember, 2000, maybe 2008. That was the last concert tour of Alfred Brendel. I met him personally, and the first question he asked me is about if I ever studied composition seriously and professionally. Back then, I composed something out of my personal interest. It is not a sort of classical music that we spend every daily time to deal with. It's more like a sort of relaxing music, background music. Some people found that very, very relaxing. It's just like easy listening music. I liked it very much. But his question is about not only about this. He asked me to pursue a serious composition study if I have the time and the possibility. And I found that very important and very interesting later, because back then, we see there's so many interesting cadenzas out of like Mozart concerto or something else from people like Dinu Lipati or anyone else. And the cadenzas were greatly composed. It means that all those people, and back then all the people were able to improvising in the grand style, like mainly Mark Rachmaninoff and all those people around his time. They had the capability to do it. I don't know about nowadays. I like to improvise a little bit more, be able to. But on the other hand, I think it's the question, I think, for later that we're talking about. The professional life is so busy somehow. It squeezes you sometimes into a corner that you do not have that much time to do this. I wish I could do a little bit more on that. And I also tried to write a cadenza back then to the Mozart concerto number 21. And that was my closest try. So far, I'm not really happy. I'm not really satisfied about this ability. And I would very much like to wish in the future to do this much better. Yeah.
Thank you so much. The next question that I have here is, when did you find out that you would like or want to be a soloist, a concert pianist, and what triggered this realization? What caused it when you were growing up?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I think the first time I had the feeling must be in 2006. This is exactly about 20 years ago. I had a piano recital in a very important festival. In this festival, I played a large recital and it was very successful. And 2 months later, I played another festival with Beethoven Fifth Piano Concerto, and this concert was live broadcasted by the German radio. So those two concerts gave me a sort of feeling that the stage is that a place made me feel very confident and comfortable also. I had the feeling that yeah, it's the right place to be. It's the right place. I just felt really fluent. And then the next step is about how to develop and how to further your professional, because I would not, when that happened, it was 2006-07. I was a student, and the concert I had no clue about the concert market, how the market works, what kind of mechanism is in it. And we practiced a lot, but then out of these, I went to a very important concert agency for coaching. Not about like they represent me immediately. I went for coaching. Basically, I prepared my resume, my other kind of documents, and basically I was hoping, yeah, there's something we can start. And then all of these landed in the garbage bin immediately. Yeah, I would have thrown out that. And the coach also told me immediately, this is worth nothing. What you have done, this is not going anywhere. That was a 3 pages of resume, without any structure, without any sort of clear intention in this, and it made me very clear in that moment. Yeah, so on the piano, I think I've done quite far. I mean, in the professional sense, but out of these, to work in the concert market, basically I've known nothing. And then this is a step how I started to continue this coaching experience a bit more, to understand, also to know a little bit more about how the things are out of the piano. So that was the year 2007. That made me very clear. And the next following steps are very difficult. I have invested quite a lot of money. I mean, out of the students, you do not have much financial resource to produce. Basically, you have to understand that moment. You have to act in a different role as a salesman. Basically, you need to sell. Basically, you need to market yourself and to brand yourself, and to as like, it sounded really bad, like the product. Basically, you need to bring this out. And basically, I'm talking about being able to write emails professionally, how to communicate with people, to reach people where they are, what is important, what is less important. And then the most difficult skill is that hang on the phone to talk to people, basically. And that this is not, we musicians, we're not really used to that. That's yeah, so that's how it started for later. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is, if there were any, what are the differences in the musical education that you experienced between China and Germany?
Yes, definitely. In China, especially I think for my generation, it was very different compared to the current ones. I was born in 1980, and when I started the professional piano education in Beijing, that was the time. Basically, I mean, we had a different living standard, and the people also had different mind in the teachers and all the people. I mean, I'm talking about generation born in the 80s. Basically, there are many of my colleagues you might know, like Lang Lang and Yu Jia Wang and Yundi Li and many further other people. They were all born in the 80s. There were not much possibilities with the internet. And in my case, I wished very much to know the music a little bit better, because when I'm talking about this generation thing, is that back then there were no YouTube, there were no other resources. If we wanted to listen to like great recordings, was very difficult. Back then, it was very expensive in China to buy a classical music CD. We could not really couldn't afford that. It was like, I think about $20 a CD. And back to that time, the living standard in China was much lower. And then luckily we had people who illegally made many copies of those recordings and selling them around the conservatory in some private places. And as a student, we all know those places. I went there, I spent all the savings digging out all these copies, these recordings of Horowitz, Rubinstein, Fischer-Dieskau, and many other grandmasters. And those things became a very important part of my music education during my 8 years of study in Beijing. I had two very good friends. They were classmates of Lang Lang, and we spent so much time listening to recordings, different editions, and discuss about this. That was our private life, basically. Playing basketball, and then also listen to these recordings in the evening, very much so. And I had the feeling that in that time, the teacher is very important, but you need to also be your own teacher somehow. You need to find a way to lead yourself somewhere. It's up to you. It's up to your interest. Not only being a professional student, I also wanted to position myself as a music lover out of the professional needs. And that was very important. I'm talking about the curiosity, also the interest, read books, the musician autobiographies and this and that. And but back then, talking about the study, of course, when I came to study in Germany, I think here you have much more space to develop yourself. Basically, there are so many great concerts you can join, and also I think the atmosphere is more liberal and also more relaxing in China. In China, I think the teachers are very strict because we adopted the Soviet Union, the Russian Soviet Union, sort of back to after the Second World War, with very close collaboration. So there was also some style adopted from them. The teachers are very strict. They wouldn't leave you any space. Basically, you need to prepare yourself with a strong heart to survive somehow. But in Germany, it's much more relaxed, and then you can basically do whatever you want. And the teachers also, let's say, everything was much more relaxed. And I think for me, in my personal case, I appreciate this very much because I'm a kind of person, I'm a little bit very sensitive and fragile sometimes. Even if it's with, in a way, too harsh words and a little bit too aggressive, I don't think I can take it. But I keep it only for myself. But generally, of course, the style is very different because I talk about in a bigger environment. Yeah, as a big cultural difference between the West and the East. Yeah.
My next question is regarding agents, pretty much. How advanced in your career do you have to be to get an agent, and what sort of work do they do? For example, I saw you're going to start a new festival, and like Nurai mentioned before, your CD got selected for Netflix. Is that part of agent work? Is that part of your work?
Yeah. Basically, I think I have done myself most of the works. That's also that's quite particular. For some people from my professional field told me many times, there are not many people doing what you're doing. Basically, what I'm talking about is, I think I managed myself completely. In between, I had like twice agents, only for a short time period. I think not longer than 1.5 year, 1 year or less. Basically, I was acting as a manager myself all the time. I have managed myself, I think, over, 800 concerts or more. And about the Netflix soundtrack thing, that came through my CD label. That's the sort of things that you cannot really do by yourself. what do you need? I think for professional needs, you need probably a triple. You need a triple work to collaborate, to somehow to connect them. You need concert, like a booking agent, book your concerts, and you need a CD label, the label push yourself, and you need a public relation, a PR agent. Three of them need to work closely together. And to answer your question, when is the time you would think that you will need an agent or be able to approach an agent? I think it's hard to say. I think by any time, you have to, I mean, when you have the feeling that you wanted to walk in this professional land, you need to think, first of all, just in case, I think you need a repertoire base. Now we are talking about a concerto list. I think you need to have, I don't know, 10 concertos, 15 piano concertos. Once you find an agent, then you have to think about, you need to be ready. You need to, I mean, here in Europe it's a little bit less, but in America I think a bit more of that. You need to be on emerging artist, emergency list. There's somebody canceled, you got a call, and the next day you need to do Tchaikovsky concerto or any popular concerto. I mean, I'm not talking about. You need to have these concertos and recital. I don't know. Maybe you need to have at least 2-3 different recital programs to change. Chamber music. You need also have all the major piano quintet works, piano duo, piano, cello, and piano violins, and sort of thing like these. This is what we call it the product. Basically, once you have the agent to sell the product, you need to have to have like the basics first of all. This is what I see, that you have the feeling that, yeah, your fingers are ready and your repertoire is somehow set, and you have the feeling that you have a very strong desire to be on the stage. Also, in some occasions, they have the feeling that, yes, you feel good with the stage, with the audience, and you have the strong drive and also the compassion about this sort of like professional future. And then this is the moment you can start to try, I think.
Thank you. I was wondering whether you have ever lost your motivation to practice or to play piano during your career. And if so, what have you done to retrieve it?
I think when I was a student, at that time I already started to play quite many concerts. There were twice in a year I had the feeling that I just don't want to play piano at all. I just don't want, I had the feeling that it doesn't make much sense. We're just like, I have the feeling that there are some very tasty dishes. You have the feeling that you do not have any appetite. You just don't want to eat. You have lost your appetite for a little bit. And during the professional career, this luckily did not happen that often. Of course, I think once I had a feeling, I had a concert recital tour with 11, 12 concerts, the same program, tight schedule. And you had the feeling that, I think the worst feeling it must be, for myself, you started the concert with the first 1 or 2 pieces, and you already think what you're going to do after the concert. Is there a place you wanted to eat after the concert? You had the feeling, could I sleep maybe better than last night? And then this is already going to be very difficult, because you just started the concert, and then it means that you are probably running out of your inspiration, your resource, you're dried. And this is going to be a concert of routine. And I consider routine as one of the worst, one of the worst situations can happen. And so now in that moment, I had the feeling that I'm a human being itself. Because when we are all young, we have so much energy, and you think, yeah, you're Superman, you're superhuman. Yeah, you just don't want to go sleep. There's no need, and you can push through. There's no problem. In that moment, you're the feeling that physically you are able to still play, and that's all fine. And the audience will feel, okay, great, no problem. But then inside of yourself, it's alert, it's a warning that okay, it's time also to slow down, do something else, and just to charge the battery, keep a little bit distance to feel healthy again. And this will happen probably also in the future too. Yeah. So this is just part of our profession. Yeah.
Thank you. So I have noticed that you have performed in multiple different cities and halls, even in the same country. So for example, in Germany, I noticed that you performed in Hamburg, in the Elbphilharmonie, and in the Berliner Philharmonie. So my question for you is, do the audiences ever differ even in the same country, and like in different cities, but in the same country? And if it does, then how?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about some of the greatest venues, and I think the audience. I mean, the audiences are always very different. I mean, now I'm talking about. Now I would like to talk more from a perspective of the concert manager, just to give a know-how about the market. So basically, in the city like Berlin and Hamburg, there are many different. I mean, there are a couple of different great orchestras, and also in the same concert hall, there are different concert series, and there are different people going to different concert series, right? So basically, in a concert hall like in the Berlin Philharmonie, the concert series, for example, for orchestra concerts, the top one is Berlin Philharmonic, and then there's Concerthaus Orchestra, there's Deutsches Symphonieorchester Berlin. This is all the subscription concert is basically the highest goal for us as pianists to approach one day. Yeah, I mean, this is the, and there are also some there's some like gigs orchestra, like amateur orchestras, half professional orchestras, and they also have their concert series, and they also have their concert audiences. I think once if you make your debut in this concerto experience in those venues is already great, for a young musician. And also for recitals in Hamburg. I mean, in Hamburg, the Philharmonic have their own series, and the Prater, this is the highest also. And there are also some other small presenters or private presenters, promoters. They do concert like recitals, other sort of things. It was all very different. We need to see this in different levels. From a professional perspective, and the audience also. I mean, as the concert series have more premium, let's say, like more prestigious, and the concert, the audiences who have like a bigger percentage owning a subscription of those concert series, like, which means that they regularly go to concerts, and they hear like the top orchestra and top soloists, and then basically, I think they see the soloist, also the performance from different perspective. There are also some concert series which the major newspaper and the major critics going to review your concert, and this reviews is also very important for the performer. And some other, for example, like smaller private promoters, they do not have this and this attention. This is quite different in a sense, especially in the big cities like Berlin, Hamburg, New York, and in Carnegie Hall. I mean, the Carnegie Hall debut means not that you play in the Carnegie Hall and then you made a career. Once you play in the Carnegie Hall, in the Isaac Stern Auditorium, in the Carnegie Hall series, which you fill the hall, and that day, then you made it. And this is a long way to run. It started from the bottom line, a little bit up. And yeah.
Thank you. I have a little bit more of a personal question, which is maybe if you want to tell what are some of your fondest and maybe what are some of your not so favorite memories of your time studying in Hanover?
Thank you for your question. I have studied in Hanover for 10 years, and that was a quite long time. Back then, I think the school was very different. It had a different system. When I was studying there, we did not have a system called a bachelor or master. Bachelor and master, the system was adopted much later. Was already when I about to graduate. We had an artistic diploma, and we had a different sort of atmosphere compared to later. I think, I mean, generally during my study, I can clearly, I mean, I have to really, I'm really very thankful to the school also to intolerance. But back then it was possible to take a break. I mean, take a break for more terms. Yeah, I had like 5 terms of breaks I took just for practicing, basically. I think nowadays it wouldn't be possible. That was such a privilege to develop to develop my repertoire. That was a time when I started to build up my repertoire. Basically, I had took a consideration very seriously how to build my repertoire. How much repertoire do I have? Do I need to be a startup? And so if you name to something like unpleasant, that was not much actually. I mean, basically, I think as a piano student, as a piano major student, you practice all the time. I would like to share maybe something different then. I remember I had to practice so much, and I like to practice. I like really to practice a lot, because at the time when you started to build up your repertoire, you need to really learn a lot of new pieces. It took about 3-4 years, maybe 3-4 years, to have all these concertos, all these recital programs, and this and that, to make a very clear layout. And basically, I was all the time practicing and reading. And I think for 2-3 years, I had the feeling that I need to find somehow a sort of balance, because practicing too much is also not good. You need to find some sort of other activities, like also physical activities, to free up yourself a little bit, because I think all of you know it very well. When we stuck in compositions like Hammerklavier of Beethoven, or Liszt B minor sonata, or other pieces, Schumann Kreisler, all these big heavy pieces, and you dedicate yourself completely into these, and you barely can walk out that. And I think that time you need something different to keep the balance, not losing the appetite. At that time, in Hanover, I was running. I think I had the tradition. In every weekend, I went to disco to dance. There were so many nights. I was dancing through the nights. We went there with some couple, like a pianist friend. Basically, we went there at 11. We danced until 6 in the next morning. And I remember also clearly that in every party in our Hochschule in Hanover, I think I attended every party, and I was the one who left the party the last ones. And I had the feeling that all this dancing freed up my mind, also helped me a little bit to learn the piece even faster. It's a different music. You need to later on, I learned to wear earplugs, because it could be very harmful for our ears. And that was, I think that was kind of, it was also kind of sort of activities, because I do not like to go to the gym. I found that very boring. So this became my work and balance sort of style when I was in Hanover. And then I like to cook with people. I cooked a lot with people to share, because I think, I don't know about you guys, but for me it was very difficult. I saw for our pianists, we're not like string players. They sit together to rehearse for a big symphony, Mahler symphony, in every semester together, like for 2 or 3 weeks, work on the piece. Where like the horn players, they rehearse together and then went for summer holidays for like the whole class. And for our pianists, I don't know about you, but for me, it was not the case. We're all like, on our own, practicing and work by ourselves away somehow. I found really also a little bit lonely. So I was cooking with people. I think this kind of sharing, this kind of sort of a process is very important. Also, this became my my passion later for chamber music. I played a lot of piano chamber music, piano quintets with people. Because I mean, as a recitalist, sometimes on the stage you just felt that the pressure is enormous, and also is the big loneliness. And I think music sometimes is not only about improving self, how much you can. It's also about sharing the joy, and also like a common sense how to connect to each other. And this chamber music experiences also helped me playing concerto, like big concertos, also later very much to understand the needs of the orchestra. Orchestra musicians and conductors and etc. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, when you're interpreting a piece, how do you find the balance between staying true to what the composer is trying to illustrate, but at the same time allowing your own artistic identity to come through?
From my personal experience, also, I mean, this is a personal experience already started when I was a middle school student. I mean, I told you guys I liked very much to listen to recordings and day and night. So this became a sort of habit that before I started a new piece, I wanted to already learn this by ears, by heart, from recordings, with the different editions even. Yeah, but then the question is, I think from my perspective, I liked very much to save enough information in my ear first from all these historic recordings, to understand the music. I mean, to have a sort of a clear layout, how much I wanted from the music and how the music should sound, and then I will start. The artistic freedom come much later. I think the next process for me is about analyzing the music, to understand the texture, to understand the philosophy behind the music, and then I think for myself, basically, I need to feel comfortable with to confront myself with the music first, and to play a lot, and then the real artistic freedom come much later from the stage experiences. I need to, sometimes I do not really mind to put fresh pieces into concerts. I played a lot of concerts, and from those experiences with the same piece, I think after 5-6 times, I had the feeling. Then it starts to think about artistic freedom, because before all of that, you're in the middle of a process to approach, to find somehow the way, your own way, with what suits you and what really not. And so to squeeze it into short, I think still it doesn't matter if it's like a public concert in a full house, where only like maybe with 5-6 friends need to be on the stage and to play it for people. And again, we're there to people, and to make this into your habit. And this is a very big difference from the mental process, I think.
Thank you. So do you think great music should always tell a story, or is emotion alone enough?
For me, if I perform a concert, I would very much like to make it into an unforgettable experience. The emotional connection for me is very important. The emotional connectedness for me as a performer myself, send all these energies to the concert hall, to connect people. We're just basic. I mean, our concert audience is all kind of different people walking into concert halls, right? I don't. I mean, there are different kind of people. There are people who always comes to concert. They're like regular concert visitors. They maybe revisit quite many concerts. This is sort of people, and there are also other kind of people. I don't know. I mean, they come to the concert very first time. There's some of friends who regularly visit concerts. They just take them to the concert. They just came, just like very random. And there are also other kind of people. Maybe the grandfather or grandmother played sort of piece, and you saw the piece, you listened that from your childhood, and you know that maybe only one piece, only this one, and you just came to the concert to listen to this. There's all kind of different reasons behind. And as a performer, I don't know where they are coming from. I only know that in that evening when you are sit in front, I mean, you are sit in front of your instrument, it should be a full dedication. It should be a full dedication. You involve 100% of your emotion. I think I also strongly do believe that when you put yourself, I mean, 100% emotionally into this to make the music, and your music making is also absolutely 100% coming out of your heart, I think somehow people would react. It doesn't necessarily need always be, I mean, it could be clarified or explained by sort of like scientific sort of, I mean, research is why and this and that, but people feel it somehow. And from my own experiences, also this is also for my artistic, my ideal artistic looking. I think emotional connectedness and also the touching moments still has the highest priority.
Thank you. I'd like to go to a practice routine more. How do you think which methods, exercises, or technique are overrated and which are criminally underrated?
That's a good question. Actually, myself, I mean, from my experiences, not much related to any sort of methods. I don't know how. I don't know in which age you guys started with piano playing. I mean, I started piano when I was about 9 years. That was already a little bit late. I don't know about you guys. I mean, any of yours like were later than 9 years? Like is any of yours started with 10, 11? I don't know. Okay, yeah, there's some of you. Okay, okay. And also, I think in my case, I was born in China, in north of China, in a region was back then was not really that developed. Was a little bit far away. So I did not have the possibility to start very early in Beijing or Shanghai in those great schools. So it was very difficult back then. And late, I mean, when I started piano playing quite late, in the first years, I had quite many difficulties, like technical difficulties. Also, when I came to study in Hanover, I think the first years, I had the feeling that the sounding is not right. And sometimes I had the feeling that the sound could not feel like a bigger place. I mean, we spend most of our time practicing in a practicing room, not in a concert hall. I mean, unless we have the possibilities to always practice in a big hall. That's a big difference to adjust yourself also. So in that particular moment when I came to Hanover, I listened to some of my really fantastic colleagues back then. I had the feeling that I need to invent my own method. I mean, technically, I mean, I'm talking about physical conditions on my own, because I mean, each of us are very different. We have different height, different weight, and also different muscles and all kinds of different type. The same piece, I mean, doesn't matter, Brahms concerto or whatever, it's not capable for, I mean, I can tell this one works for me very well, and then maybe for you, this is not the case. So in my case, I had to find out a way that to make, I mean, to combine. I know that only there's some, I mean, my hands were not really ideal. My hand was a little bit, my hand was not a little bit, the fingers are a bit too long, and I had really kind of difficulties when I started to play something classical, Haydn, Mozart, whatever. With all the 16ths, I have to always hit like this, you know. So basically, I was envy people who had smaller hands, you know, had like more rounded, smaller hands. It was so easy for them. But on the other hand, with long kind of fingers, when you started to deal with, I know, Chopin or Rachmaninoff, sort of like stretching things, and then it felt a little bit probably easier. And on the other hand, I think that's another kind of standard. When I started to watch video performances of people, I don't know, for example, like Christian Zimmermann, I was watching Christian Zimmermann playing Brahms concertos, and also his Chopin recordings, and that back then that was for me a sort of ideal piano playing, and also, I mean, just to name a few, I mean, other people from the past, like young Polini, for example, and also the Pogorelic, back then the younger Pogorelic, you know, when he was doing the Chopin recordings. I have the feeling that basically, I think they are all dealing with the keys in a very relaxed way. I mean, not really struggling with that. I don't know about the inner world of them. We're not really struggling. But basically, I think what's really important is that you shouldn't feel exhausted. You should feel relieved and I'd say also energized by playing. I mean, not really the feeling they need to really punching through, need to fighting that all the time. That was a kind of clear signal for me for my own method. If there's something happens when I practice in a difficult piece, I felt my arms not feeling well, or a little tired, or my wrists and other pieces, I will stop immediately. But from other point of view, I think doing sports is also very important. I mean, actively participating in sport. I mean, I don't know what you guys do. I mean, for me, I do a lot of bike riding and running, and also professional stretching, yeah, all sort of things, just to have a strong capability of your like the muscles, and I think that's very important because the piano playing is very physical. And in the end, I think for myself, I mean, I never had as much experiences of researching all kind of different methods. For my own methods, it's that also very clear. I need to physically feel well and physically feel the satisfaction somehow. And I think for all of us, you know it by yourself. We just need to be very sensitive as ourselves.
Yeah. Good evening, Haiou. My name is Anna. It's a great pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Since you're a very experienced pianist and you have experience not only in playing on stage, but also recording CDs, I would like to ask you if you may have special routine for preparing for important recording sessions, because we all know that it's very different from performing on stage, like live performing. And do you have some tips, some strategies while you're recording the CD?
Yeah, I think the first step is probably the mental preparation. I like to always read the music without practicing it. I like to read the music as much as possible without practicing it. I mean, read the music is just like from the mental reading, just like when you read a book, you read a novel, basically. This is what I always like very much to before the recording sessions. And then I think you need to get to know the piano very well. I always had the privilege to be able to choose the piano I wanted to for the recording. And sometimes could be also a little bit more complicated. There's one, I think for my very first CD, I had like 3 times the pre-selection of choosing a piano. In the end, I picked up the same ones, but then it took a lot of time. And the other thing is you need to open up yourself also a little bit. Open up yourself means I think the CD producer is very important. The CD producer is the person who gives you also very important artistic inputs and artistic ideas. This is the person, while the recording, he or she hears out the things that you don't hear by yourselves. And so you need to choose the producer very carefully. And then you need also be able to, you also better to share a sort of a mutual artistic point of view. If there's someone who shares a completely different opposite point of view, and I think it's going to be very difficult for recording, for the realization of recording. Also need to get along each other very well. And then in the end, need to also be to be very sensitive and also selective about the venue. I mean, it works very different. I mean, when I started, my first recording was 2011, until now it's like 15 years ago. The industry has changed a lot. The people has changed a lot, and the market, the needs also changed quite very much. And we're living in a time of AI. Back then, we didn't have that. The people buying physical CDs, and now everybody's hanging on a Spotify and somewhere else. So I think it's also very important for you to understand that what exactly you will need for the product itself, like for the end of the product. The music is only one thing on the artistic part, and it comes also through the program, the selection, and to consider your personal artistic needs and wish, but also need to somehow thinking about adjust it to the market. And then it comes also to the cover and to the booklet, the text. You need to tell a story by yourself. You need each of us need to tell a story nowadays to somehow have a little bit public relation with yourself, the public relation to promote yourself better. And so the whole thing is a process. There are so many things you need to already to draft a plan before you start it even. All of these a little bit. And maybe also you need to finance your CD yourself, to find a sponsor who is willing to donate, to finance yourself with your parents, your friends, who you have the luck or the privilege, and the label will pay it by itself, which is not really common these days. The whole thing has changed a lot. So all of these will take probably quite a lot of time to consider. And then you can start with the target.
Thank you very much for your answer. My question might be a little bit similar, but I would like to ask about how do you prepare for a stage performance? How your ritual, like the day before the concert or on the concert day, looks like, and do you have any ways of dealing with the stage fright?
Yeah, thanks for the question. This is exactly that. I mean, after all this, I don't know, this is almost 20 years of doing this professionally. But then each time you realize you need to face to a similar kind of situation. Basically, it all started with traveling somewhere. You need to travel somewhere. You need to reserve enough time for rehearsals to get to know the hall. You don't want to be late. And you need to find the road, where to travel, how to travel. And then you need to prepare yourself mentally somehow before all of these. And also to take the necessary things you need. I don't know about you guys. I mean, everyone's different. We all have different life habits. I'm a sort of person, I wanted to prepare everything as much as I can. It all started already with, I don't know, with food, for example. You need to take enough food with you. What exactly will you eat before the concert? If you want to eat a banana, you want to eat like an apple or chocolate, everyone have a different physical needs, right? And then what others you need? You want to, if you have an orchestra rehearsal, yeah, so you need to get up much earlier. You need to be there with the orchestras, to be with the conductors, and how much time do you need to practice after all of these? Always a lot of communication you need to do. And then the concert day, basically, I mean, everyone has their different habits. For myself, I always choose to eat something very light, or something similar already, like prior to the concert day. Always the same stuff to make your stomach will not go wrong, to make you in the best physical condition, and to make yourself better, to have no other kind of like sort of worries and all of these. And then I think it comes to the mental part. If you're on tour playing the same program like 10 times, so you want to do something special, but then you feel already exhausted. So what are you going to do? Walking to somewhere to nature that I find probably in the city where I am, to a museum, to nature, and to a park somewhere to walk around, to try to find somehow a little bit some interesting things to inspire you. And from the practical side, how many encores you want to play if you do a recital or concerto days. If you're on tour, you play like every day the same encore. You want to play like maybe different encores in 5 different evenings. All of that kind of things. I mean, I'm a sort of person who always like to plan to schedule and plan those things in advance. Sometimes I also do surprises myself, to surprise myself. But then, in the end, you need to prepare all of this. Yeah? If you want to do all different encores in 5 evenings, 1 or 2, you need 10 encores. Then you need to practice all the encores also during the daytime, besides all the major programs, right? So it's all very different, all of these. It depends on how much you want to plan out. You just want to be a bit spontaneous yourself.
Hi, thank you very much for sharing your experience, first of all. And I'm very curious to know, is there a particular habit that deeply changed your playing over time and contributed to development as a pianist?
Yeah, definitely. I remember very clearly before I came to study in Germany, for the very first many years, this is also a habit I took with to practice very, very, very slowly and disproportionately. Just to practice slow all the time. And later I found out that I could do very well with slow tempo. But then when I started to be on the stage, and suddenly it doesn't work anymore. And this surprised me very much in the first competition experience. And later on, I just basically, that was the stage experience. I think at that moment, on the stage, everything functionally in a different way. I don't know about you. For me, I need to somehow calculate how can I say this? Basically, I mean, you prepare yourself very well in the practicing room. Then suddenly you are on the stage. And then you have the feeling, because of, you're feeling nervous, for example. Because of anxiety, you're feeling nervous. You cannot do the same 100% as you wish to have, where you're already running so much time already in the practicing room. And this is already, I think this is the regular 20 to 30% you need to calculate by yourself. This is also the good reason why we need to practice so much. There are people like the Sokolov, he practiced even after the concert, or Michelangelo after the concert. They lock themselves on the stage and let everybody already went, but lock the door and practice again those places they thought were not great in the concert. So this also inspired me a little bit. I think until today, I have the feeling that even there are days I wanted to leave it out, but still I think do this every day once, the complete program, the complete concerto. Maybe slowly once, maybe in a normal tempo. And this became a sort of habit that I have. I have the feeling that I have to be able to deal with all kind of situations and tempo to have the security, to have the absolute security. Although in the end, on the stage, you will not feel secure.
Thank you. I mean, you are, of course, an accomplished pianist already, but what would be your musical dream that you still hope to accomplish in the coming years?
Well, that's a very good question. I think there are so many interesting, beautiful concert venues that I still haven't been to, and it's always a great pleasure to visit some new places, new cities, new concert halls, and different culture, and all this and that, and to make new recordings, and more importantly, to still have the big interest, curiosity, and the appetite to learn new repertoire concerto. Sometimes I have to admit, sometimes it's really exhausting. Sometimes the feeling is like, I know I'm 40 years old. I'm 40 years old, and I've been doing this all the time. Now I just feel, oh my God, it's enough. Then I think in the end, you need to ask yourself in the late night, what is most important thing for you? I mean, besides just to approach the professional life, it doesn't matter. I know we're pianists, and we're going to be concert pianist, professional pianist is our profession, and there are other people. I don't know, banker, doctor, or scientist whatsoever. Is that only because we need to earn money to survive, or I need to feel. We need to feel shy, to be conformed by the society, people, oh, you're great, you're doing fantastic, just to satisfy yourself? Or were there something else? I think in those particular moments, when you have the feeling, yeah, it's a little bit, I do not really have the motivation in doing this. I like to switch on the music, even just to listen something. I don't know, maybe not piano music, even piano music or symphonic music, and then the magic happened again and again. I have to tell you, there's just some moments captured. There's some new moments that make you feel that uplifting, and just feel that emotionally it touched you. It gives you still like a goosebumps once more time. And you just tell yourself, okay, being a musician, it's really a big privilege. And then those piano music will start it again. Somehow sit there and have the feeling, okay, there's nothing to do with a job. There's nothing to do with a job. I hate this word. It's an extension of your body, because we dedicated our childhood already from many early years, daily life to this, and then it still excites you. It still gives you sort of like touching moments, and then I think that makes you also to think about the future, and think about this future, and which will last very long, maybe to the end of your life, and that's already, I think, that's already something great. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Daniele, and it's an honor to meet you. And my question is quite personal. It's about family, and there's a lot of musicians which says that it's not the best choice to create a family and have children, especially if you're a girl and if you're a soloist. So, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting. I think that's a really very interesting question to think. First of all, I mean, just to answer I have answered the question a bit earlier. Also, I think also I'll noticed that from my response, there's things quite quite related to emotions, touching moments, and all of this and that. Yeah, of course. I mean, speaking with the professional life as a female performer, it doesn't matter pianists, violinists, or conductors. I mean, yeah, once if you created family, then certainly you will need to adjust to it. Need to adjust your daily life, your schedule, and also many other things. Also, I mean, as a male, as male performer too, but once you have a family, you need to think about, and also calculate more time for your family, for your kids, and this and that. I think create a family is very important. It's an important step to complete our human life. I mean, I speak only from my personal aspect. To complete your human life, I think there are emotions. I mean, from our family, from parents, from our childhood, and later on you create your own family. Those kind of, and you have your own kid. Those kind of emotions will enrich also your musical and your artistic perspectives. As a human being, I mean, what means for us as a human being? Being as a human, I think that's the very first thing, and then being an artist, being a musician. And we have already so many music idols from the past. I mean, speaking of American pianists, I mean, Rubinstein or other people. I had families and had kids, and in the end, this will also I think make ourselves more mature when we're dealing with the music itself. I think that's always the thing, the challenge part, and we need to adjust ourselves to the challenge, of course. On the other hand, we see that also very clear. It brings us a lot of life too, which we needed for our music making. I think that's the combination, and we do it like learning by doing from the experiences.
Thank you for answering. Do you have any unusual routines or non-musical habits that help you focus?
Yes, as I mentioned before, I think participating, doing actively sports is very important. We need physical strength. I mean, being a concert pianist ourselves, I mean, thinking about all these big repertoires. I mean, the recital repertoire, I mean, the whole recital 2 hours. I don't know how much encores you guys play. Then this is like the whole evening you're responsible for yourself. The mental strength, also the physical strength, you need to really get ready for that, right? And then a big concerto, I don't know, Rachmaninoff 3, Prokofiev 2, Brahms 2. This is also a sort of thing you need to be able to handle. So doing sports is a very good thing. It gives you the possibility to get stronger, I mean, also mentally, also physically. About other things, I think what would be very good is some other kind of some other movements could also help. I don't know, for example, like Tai Chi, yoga, or other kind of things could be also very helpful. Or sometimes I'll just basically meditation. Yeah, meditate yourself to be able to focus, to have a clear mind. I mean, I think all of you guys still are students, right? I have to sometimes there's also a point that I came back to think back, to think back as a student. I miss the time being a student, because as a student you do not necessarily to take care of many other things which are not related to music. For example, paying a lot of insurances, and also other many sort of things need to deal with. But later on, when you're not a student anymore. To think about how to survive, how much money I spend in a month, how much do I, and those sort of things. And being a student, to have the freedom just to focus on your artistic thing, and all those things will also influence your daily life. Will take away your capacity. What we wanted is just sit down and prepare the music, but then suddenly you think, oh, I still have one bill I didn't pay. You still have like other letters you didn't really reply, and then you got fines or penalties. These are not really good. This is later. What is going to happen? It's not going to be avoided. So then you need to time for yourself. Just time for yourself. The best for is the best thing is sitting in nature. Just clear out your mind. Listen to the wind, listen to the birds, listen to the ocean, whatsoever, just to calm down. And then maybe spend half an hour just read the music, and later on just listen to the recordings maybe 2-3 times to find your own inner peace. And I think that helps. You need to reserve enough space and time for yourself.
Yes, thank you very much. So the next question from me is, do you ever get bored during long practice sessions? And if so, how do you keep it interesting without burning out?
As I before suggested, I don't know about you, I went to disco to dance a lot. That really helped enormously, very, very much. The hard practicing, yeah, I remember I was very pleased. The Chopin Second Piano Sonata. The Chopin Second Sonata, the last movement, I don't know if any of you guys played that, the last movement is nightmare. I found somehow, as much as I practice, I found my muscles feel weird. I felt my neck is not right, and I felt my wrist somehow became very, very stiff and this and that. And then I went dancing, but I also went basically walking a lot. And then you started to do something else. I don't know about you. For me, I think developing other hobbies is also very important. Photography, cooking, fashion, and maybe reading, and also sports, and also maybe like philosophy, and then also, for example, I don't know, there's so many things you can do. I think other interests. We need to develop our interests, like wide interests and different hobbies to combine with our tough practicing sessions and this and that, in order just to keep yourself fit. Once you get so bored, then you're not fit anymore. And this kind of fitness and the fineness, you need to keep this in mind. Don't push too hard. If you have the feeling that you don't want anymore, just walk away immediately. Try to find some other sort of thing, just to abstract on this, distract your mind.
Thank you very much for your answers. It was very much helpful. And my question would be, if you could talk to your 17-year-old self, just beginning to study in Germany, what would you advise to yourself musically and personally?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. I mean, 17, the thing is interesting. To think that the 17 years of time didn't really feel that far away, actually. Although it was already like over 20 years. It just like felt somehow like not a long time ago. And all of us is going to get older. This is a time. I mean, this is a time subject. Sometimes you don't feel it, and it runs so fast like a wild horse. I mean, that's the thing. If I had the possibility to talk myself, I would probably tell myself just to practice less, just to practice less. Maybe just to develop other sort of like conducting. I always wanted very much to do conducting. Just didn't really happen so far because of the busy schedule. And then maybe I'll tell myself to learn French or Italian, maybe better, or like Spanish. That would be also very interesting. I think the languages sometimes also help us to link with the music. And then maybe just, I don't know, because when I somehow thinking about face my 17 years of myself, that was a different time to now. We're living the time of AI, of internet. Back then, there was not much internet. There were no smartphones. If you want to meet some people, you write an SMS. You pick the call and call people. Basically, that was the way to communicate. You call people and you meet each other. Yeah, I mean, you meet each other at 5 o'clock, sit down together. One evening, you meet and sit down for hours. Or there's sometimes we hang on the phone for 2 hours, just talk. If you want to do anything, and then we're just so much aware of physical things, physical papers, nothing digital, that's very different. And then I remember that clearly when the smartphone and the internet were capable to launch a video call to my parents. Back then, that was the thought like for future, like for some time, and in the magical world. When I came to study in Hanover, I called my parents with an IP card. I have to find a phone somewhere and then enter the 20 digits of the call, and then make 10 minutes of the phone call, and that was the way to communicate. And later on, now I mean, there was no YouTube. Now you can watch all the recordings, watch all the performances day and night with free of charge. And back then, you need to go to the library and then borrow maybe a VCD or DVD and watch it and this and that. Nowadays, there's so much possibilities. But then also see the negative change by like the domination of the social media. The people basically scroll screens. There's so many recordings posted like for 30 seconds, like maybe 1 minute. Sometimes I have the fear if the people are so much used to scroll screens, would they still focus to listen a Mahler symphony or Bruckner symphony or what like a Brahms concerto for 45 minutes and 50 minutes? That's the question. And that's also the thing that we need to protect ourselves. Yeah, I mean, back then was very different. You just go to a concert and sit down, like opera for 5 hours or 4 hours, Wagner opera. And we're living in a different time. There are different possibilities we have, which is great, but we also probably to set a clear borderline to protect ourselves, not just basically swallowed by those AI and modern possibilities.
Thank you. So my question is, have you ever injured yourself during a tour or maybe a few days before a performance? And if so, how did you manage it and still fit everything in your schedule?
Well, that's a very good question. Actually, I had really some problems since 2 years. The first thing came as I think the first thing came more sort of like a sudden burnout. That was a burnout later on being recognized myself as a real burnout. In that moment, felt more like a migraine somehow. I had a strong headache and this and that. That was a very stressful period, and it came very suddenly. And I had other colleagues perform in a fantastic string quartet, and suddenly facing a burnout, could not hold the violin up anymore. This happens very suddenly like this. And then the burnout came to you very quickly without any expectation like this. In that moment, I just found very difficult. I could not really sit properly. And the things when you start to lie down, everything feels great again. This continued, unfortunately, for a couple of weeks. It felt very difficult. And then I went to professional treatment, and this got better. There was so much tension in myself, which I need to relieve that. Came from practicing from the stage, from the mental thing. Yeah. We have a busy schedule. All this could suddenly explode, suddenly happen without any notice. Since this thing disappeared, a couple of weeks later, when I played a concert somewhere, I had a very difficult program, which is a set of encore pieces transcriptions with Horowitz list, the wedding march, and also like Freedom House transcription, all this kind of stuff. And then my hand was a little cold, so basically, I injured myself by playing one of those pieces, and then the hand felt really strange. Could not really was a little bit painful, but not really doing other kind of practice anymore. Because in 2 weeks I should perform Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto 1 somewhere else. So the question is if I continue or I stop. So I went to another professional help, which diagnosed all these things. I mean, not only from the stretching, it's more from the mental and but also the physical. Like disproportional. I'd say like very intense performing professional life was a little bit too intense. I mean, for our pianists, we are not like the football players. When you see the football players, they always have the coat. They will always have the professional massage, somewhere. The thing is, when you started doing this again and again, and after 10, 15 years, one day if you get a little older, the problems will find you. The first thing I think is for me important is from the professional help to give me the strong signal that everything is actually all right. What you need to do right now is to behave and rest. That means really rest. It means that I had to postpone this concert for half a year later, which I didn't like. I just tell myself, okay, I never had this before. Why? I mean, I can handle. No, you cannot. You tell yourself you can't handle. You should not handle it now. The right thing to do is to stop, postpone this concert, and then for the next 2 weeks, you're not going to touch the piano, close the piano, and do something else. And I did it. I did it as the doctor told me, and later on, this thing disappeared. Everything is all right. Yeah, and then last year, I had a similar kind of situation, and I did the same thing, and went out very well. So I learned from that. By the time of change, also the quantity of concerts you played yourself. You perform a 500 concert, 800, 1,000 concert, all these concertos, all this practicing things. You need to know that by yourself that your physical, basically, your physical, I'd say your hand and all the other things, it's just not going to get better. You need to somehow protect yourself. Also know that, to know that very well, you need wellness, to rest well, to sleep well, to eat well, and all of things will help enormous. Not ignore it and say, okay, I can. That would be really bad.
Wow, that is such a story. Thank you for sharing. And my next question would be actually quite personal also. I would like you to ask how do you manage and what helps you through your turbulent times in your life, in such as like as you also described now. How do you manage to stay, to understand also that you need this rest, that you need this time for yourself?
Yeah, exactly. I was pulling through quite a long, and the first time I remember very clearly, it was in 2011. 2011, I was 26, 27 years old. I played a concert during the weekend, 3 concerts, 5 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 3 different programs, 2 different recital programs, and the last day was Beethoven Concerto. So during the second concert, I heard myself. I heard myself by playing, I don't know, a list and transcription or something like this. My body was literally already overexhausted, but my mind was still working. The thing is that they didn't really cope with each other. the synchronization was not there, and then you hurt yourself. I had a feeling that I could barely stand up the next day. That's the first time, and yeah, later on, I mean, all these things came. What I have learned from these is that the first thing you need to tell yourself is don't panic. Don't panic. Don't get panicked. There's no way. There's no reason for panic for being panicked. All these things came in an understandable way. When you look back, because I mean, when you have a busy schedule in a professional career, basically you're always pulling through. You're always walking one way ahead. You say, "I'm going through, and that's the one. I'm not going to stop." You just even feel yourself, unstoppable somehow. But that's not true, and that's not really true. You need to sometimes you need to think back a little bit. We're think also a little bit in advance. What could happen? Because we are all human beings. We are not the 007 James Bond. Although sometimes we wish to be, but somehow the real thing is. Because you're in the middle of the busy career, sometimes there's not enough time to sleep because you need to catch airplane. When I was doing a tour somewhere, I had in the winter 5.5 hours, 6 hours of sleeping. Next day, you travel to next city, and then you're waiting to get on the stage, and you have the feeling the backstage or the people, the area before you went on the stage look all the same, and that's already a signal telling you, okay, yeah, you need to feel actually fresh. I mean, you're fresh. Everything is different, and when you have the feeling everything already starting to feel similar, you're ready, and that's the thing. And on the other hand, if once the thing happened to yourself, just try to feel relaxed and tell yourself, okay, now it's time to get slow, and you need to treat yourself well. Don't eat too much fast food. Yeah, you need to live healthy. Don't eat junk food. Don't just we're dealing with masterpieces. Yeah, we need to eat well. I mean, I don't know who said. I think maybe Martha Argerich said it. She needs to feel well. If all of you feel well, then you are going to be on the stage and feeling well. I mean, lack of sleep and not eating well, and then also for other not other like well-being, then this will infect your artistic being also directly, somehow. So I think all this preparation, we need to somehow set a clear regulation for ourselves, what to do and what not to do. This in terms is to be well in shape. If once something happened, also just to keep cool and let's take a rest, and this will pay off in the end, I think.
What music do you like to listen to except for classical music? And how did your classical music experience influence your taste in other genres? Or vice versa, how did other genres influence your playing?
That's a good question. I mean, mostly I do really listen to classical music, I have to admit. When I have the time, I mean, I listen to classical music, not necessarily piano music, although I like to share this with you guys. I mean, I consider myself, I mean, started with a young early age, listen to so many CDs and that, and later on, I also spend all my money collecting CDs and this and that. Some weeks ago, when I was driving, I had a long driving from somewhere else back home. Because of the long drive, I started listening to something different, like piano music, concertos, and this and that. If this name ever rings to you guys, the name, what is the name? Howard Shelley. Do you know this pianist? Howard Shelley. Yeah, he recorded for the British label, the Hyperion Romantic Piano Concertos. And later on, when I did a calculation, he recorded almost 60 piano concertos for Happy. And these 60 piano concertos are all unknown composers. All those composers, I mean, I barely heard many of them, their names. Many of them are like almost forgotten from the Romantic period. And fantastic piano concertos, which means, I mean, there are so many repertoire that we didn't know. I mean, we pursue our daily practice and prepare for other stages. I mean, with many mainstream repertoire, maybe also some modern music. But from the classical, from the Vienna classics, although from the Romantic period, there's so many things that we never heard. We never had a chance even to discover. And the symphonies as well. And so I still see that it's still like, still have a big discovery upcoming for myself, just to discover more of these. And also out of the piano music, I'm very interested in the other like instruments, like string quartet. I like very much listen to string quartet, symphonic music, and also harp music. And besides classical music, if I have a little time, I like jazz very much. I mean, jazz piano, and sometimes I listen to the lounge music a little bit when I'm on vacations somewhere, like lounge music. Back then, I also had 2 years of time when I was very much into hip hop, like rap. That was a long time ago. I was very much into rap music. Yeah, just with like two years of that. And I had a schoolmate in China, in Beijing. Later on, he was a trumpet player, but later on he made a very popular rap ensemble in China, became very famous. And it was interesting. I think all sort of like this music will give you. I would not call it maybe inspiration, but well, sometimes give you a different kind of information, also a hint and a different approach to the classical music to your own artistic making somehow. I think if that's possible, spending time to listen to all kind of genres is very important. Not only suck into one. Especially, I think symphonic music is very important for our pianistic approach, for this large scale symphonic music. I think if once if the possibility is there, I mean, I would like to suggest to start to study conducting somehow, or composition and conducting, to be able to understand the music better.
As a concert pianist with a lengthy career, what is there a piece that still strikes fear into your soul, musically or technically?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Now, I mean, right now I started with Brahms' second concerto again. I did Brahms concerto in the recording, also concerts 10 years ago. That was very intense. And now I started with Brahms second again. And next year I have a couple different concerts. And I have a feeling this is a piece which I listened to it very much, very intensely when I was a teenager. I was very much into the recording of Christian Zimmermann and Bernstein. And now when I started with the piece again, basically from zero, I have the feeling that, yeah, it's still, I mean, all these difficulties are not running anywhere. They are there. I have to face to them, just like from the first day. It's quite annoying. You need to be very patient to deal with them. On the other hand, there are still some musical moments. For example, the third movement with the cello, and also the first movement at the beginning. You have to still the feelings that yes, this music is not getting any centimeter less to like how to say, to make you feel the passion. Just as a teenager, the same thing. Like today, you even feel even more, even stronger. This is about Brahms' second concerto, and there are many other pieces I would like to. I mean, Beethoven sonata, the Opus 101, for example. And now I now work with some students now in May in Switzerland. And this is a piece I listened to very much when I was 14, 15, and it's like so as fresh at the front from the first day. I think this is probably the magic from the classical music, from the great repertoire.
Oh, thank you. So I wanted to ask, so your career includes a lot of prestigious stages. So is there any specific concert or venue that left the strongest impression on you, and why?
Yes, definitely. I went to Brazil in the year of 2010. That was when I very first time went to South America. When I was a kid, I liked football a lot. I would not. I mean, back then, I need to go to bed early as a student because I have a lot of homework to do. But when the FIFA World Cup is running, I always try to skip and not sleeping and watching the FIFA. And the Brazilian team was my favorite. I could name all these football stars back then. And so that was my first visit. Went to Brazil. I was so much looking forward to it because of this football connection. And so I went there. Had two concerts in Sao Paulo in this fantastic concert hall, the Sala Sao Paulo. It's still like considered as one of my favorite concerts. 2,000 seats. It looks like how to say it's like a dream. It's like a dream venue somehow. It's fantastic. It looks like classical. 2,000 people, 2 evenings, one after each other. People are so enthusiastic, and I had the feeling also in Brazil, everything's so different. And that year, I recorded a Liszt CD. Also, the second Hungarian Rhapsody arrangement by Horowitz. So I went to Brazil. I performed the Mozart Concerto, the number 21, 2 evenings. And after the first concert, I played the Hungarian Rhapsody as encore. That was a tour. This encore is too long. It's like over 10 minutes. Yeah, but I had the feeling I recorded this CD so fresh. I had all the things on my fingers. I just felt myself like. I felt myself like a rocket. I have the feeling that the people in Brazil are so enthusiastic, and now I have to follow the concert one way. I did it, and I felt so great for this concert. And after the concert, I went with the whole orchestra for Brazil. I don't know about this rodizio, this big grill buffet. It was kind of meat and so great food. And this was my first impression in South America, and the people, and also the landscape and all those left a very strong impression in me. This concert, and about other places, there's just so many impressions from the years, and sometimes I had the feeling that because of the busy schedule, you did not really have the time to digest. And sometimes you're just so busy, you play the concert, and the next one already in front of you, and they already forgot the things from the past. Thanks to Facebook and also other like Instagram and Facebook, other kind of social media platforms, and you can make a post. And now when you scroll the screen and look back, and then sometimes there are still like fantastic memories came back. And I think, yeah, it's so valuable. Yeah.
Thank you so much for answering. And so my question will be, when was your debut with an orchestra? How do you remember it? How did it feel at that time? Was it different from solo recitals? And what do you think about it after so many years?
Well, thank you for your question. That's a very good question. Right back hit me into 2004, I think. 2004, I came to study in Germany after 1 year. I went to the Horowitz competition in Ukraine, in Kiev. That was my first time in Kiev. And I didn't really think I could make to the final, and I played in the final the Rachmaninoff Third Concerto. That's also my first time with orchestra. I never played with orchestra before, and with Rachmaninoff Third Concerto, I felt very nervous because the feelings like with an orchestra and with a great orchestra and with this piece, I felt myself somehow not really ready for that because it just happened too fast somehow. I was listening to the recording, two recordings, day and night, just especially the orchestra part, just to have the feeling I need to save it into my ears to make it sure that nothing will go wrong. Yeah, this is a different feeling when you're in the middle of the stage, surrounded by so many orchestra musicians, especially also a piece like Rachmaninoff 3. Basically, all the sounds which you listen to that only from the CDs suddenly surrounded you right there live. I just felt in the moment a little bit not realistic, a little bit surreal. But then it's a great feeling, of course, to come to collaborate with other musicians. Especially in the orchestra, to collaborate, to understand how to collaborate. And also that time, I was 18 or 19. I had the feeling that I was not really having the sense to collaborate because I never played with orchestra before. Where did that come from? To collaborate with people, and that was a great experience in terms that it gives my very first time to understand, to make music together, not only the pianistic yourself. That was a great memory, and I also had the unforgettable memories. The audience was very enthusiastic in Kiev on all this everything. Because when I read the biography with the people, back then with Holomis and the people, there were cities in Kiev or Odessa or other people. I just wanted to visit these places to basically to find the footsteps or fingerprints from all these great master names. What you can only read from the autobiographies, right? So that was the first time. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. It's a great pleasure to be talking with you. And my question would be, is there something you had to unlearn from your past musical experience that actually made you a better pianist?
Yes. Basically, I think this is also a thing. You learn how to deal with yourself. I think how to deal with yourself. We sit in the practicing room, and I think the biggest challenge for ourselves is it's not anything out of yourself. Basically, think ourselves is our biggest challenge, and on a daily basis. For me, I told one point before that I was so much used to practicing very slowly. I spent so much time just only doing slow practicing, and suddenly I have got the feeling, we'll be on the stage. Only practicing slow is not enough. You need a lot of also time to invest for fast practicing. Sometimes maybe I'm not a big fan with metronome, but it helps sometimes. Sometimes if you go over speed and run back, it really helps. It gives you discipline. Sometimes our mind believes that we will hold the tempo properly and will not get fast. That's not real. The metronome tells you this is not right. And then if you really once you get into that, then you create a system yourself. And then you need to create also a good time management. I always try to think myself practicing a piece. Maybe I'll have 4 weeks of time. What happens in the third weeks, and the last 2 weeks? What happened? When the last week, what it should happen? Maybe I should then practice still like with separated hands, check some harmonies, which you never pay attention to, which not really pay attention to it, and then maybe also to practice slowly with different variations, or just running it. Because running it, maybe I'm taking the example of a concerto. You're not starting with the first movement, and then starting with the third movement and running back. Like in the back pages and whatsoever. There's so many things. I think if you have enough fantasies, you're crazy enough to find enough ways to do that. And all these things, I think this will help you to face to any sort of like unpredictable situation. Yeah, because once you are on the stage, basically you're just imagine yourself in the open sea. You don't need to free swim yourself. It could come with, I don't know, like a storm. It come with I don't know, big wind or whatever. Yeah, then I think as early as you have the possibility to prepare yourself and to get your muscles and your system to build a good firewall, then you have less problems. This is what I strongly believe.
Okay, thank you for the question. The theme on my mind for the last days was that we are not only the creators of art, we're also consumers of art. So besides music, which form of art you enjoy the most, and which one of them do you think makes a musician more intelligent?
Yeah, that's a very constructive question coming from you. I mean, for myself, I think I consider myself as a museum person. If I'm somewhere, I like to spend quite some time in the museum. For example, in Berlin, I mean, there's many great galleries and museums I like to spend time with. For example, only by walking through all these paintings, I'm talking about, I'm a big fan of French Impressionism. When I walk through all these paintings with something in the ears, for example, you listen to some Debussy pieces, Ravel and whatsoever, and you watch these paintings of Monet, I think in the moment you get very much inspired. All these arts. I mean, also I think photography also is a subject. From the photography, I mean, from all these pictures, and there's so much interesting details. I mean, awaits us to discover and get inspired. And this is, I mean, I compare this similar to the music. I mean, to the composition. I mean, we spend so much time on daily basis to work with. I mean, there's still details that we don't listen, we don't hear. There's some still voices. There's still so many possibilities that we still haven't seen it. And then I think for those artworks, it could be some sort of similar process, and which you let yourself, I mean, inspired from a visual stimulation, I would call it, and yeah, also from the reading, I think that's also, I think a good book also helps enormously much. The thing is, this is just a point. This is also what I pointed out before. We're living in such an overspeed time and society. Yeah, there's so much information, like over-information bumped onto us. Basically, we are over-informed sometimes. I think sometimes we try to limit it and get back to a little simpler life or a simpler lifestyle. Sometimes just more into the physical thing. For example, the thing, what I really think is good is in the museum, you just lock yourself on a smartphone somewhere, for example. Just when we started to read a book, then put it somewhere. And I think this could be very constructive and useful inputs for our artistic being. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here with us. And so you keep mentioning that, of course, you grew up in a bit of a different time. And right now, we as musicians also have much more access to various recordings and to even great performances through YouTube and other platforms. And my question for you is, in this case, when there's so many great pianists and musicians around, what makes a performance special for you?
I would call it a storytelling. It's a storytelling because I think each of us has a different background. I mean, in a larger style, I call it maybe cultural background is one thing, but also like a simpler background. We grow up in a different way from our families, also your friend circles, in the time, in the city, in the spot, in somewhere. There's so many influences in us. Background will project into your music, I think. The same piece will not sound, I think the same piece will not sound the same when yourself even play it in the different stages. Then there's a different feeling. I think everyone has a different flavor, have a different understanding. Also, this is what's called it an interpretation into the music, translate into the. I would like to call it maybe translation. Like the same Beethoven sonata, each of us will translate this into a different thing, and I think this is also probably the main thing. Will still keep the performance, live performance, more interesting. This is also what all of us have learned from the coronavirus, from the COVID pandemic time, when we only had a limited access to online. It's different than football playing. I mean, the concert live, and it's live. Also, I mean, probably in other sports thing is also different. But for a concert, in that moment, what happens in a space, in a room, this kind of swinging, like sort of, let's say, the vibration will not be replaced by other mediums. So that's why I still strongly believe that when you tell your own story somehow, then you make the moment, and the moment also of the history. It doesn't matter so what, and this will certainly continue also for the future. And because I still strongly believe, I think classical music is timeless, and what all of us are pursuing every day is something also truly timeless.
Thank you. My question would be, have you ever had any doubts about the career path that you are taking? And at what point did you know that, yes, I want to be a concert pianist?
I think in that moment, I just told it what happened with two concerts in 2006. It just gave me a great feedback being on the stage. That was only a feedback. I said what I told in the next year when I went to the agency asking for the coaching, the result came out very surprisingly. Basically, I know nothing about. So, I mean, it came very spontaneously in the moment that I felt great. I want to be more on the stage. What means more on the stage? Taking this as a profession, you're going to earn the money and pay your living expenses through concerts, being a concert pianist, or combined as a private teacher or something else. I don't know. It's all very different. I did the most of thing, the most thing from the being concert pianist living. It's a very hard thing. Mostly I enjoyed it, but then it's also a tough call because you need to be capable to deal with that. I mean, each time before we go to the stage, if you ask me, do you feel nervous? Yes, I do. Yeah, because why you feel nervous? Because you practice so much, you prepared, you want a great result, and this happens again and again and again, and after so many times, would you feel exhausted? I would say, yeah, but somehow, I mean, sometimes yes, but sometimes also I need to tell myself, I need to adjust to it. And then as a human being, I still believe we could stretch ourselves very much. And so becoming a concert pianist it's actually a decision. But for that time, I just, as I told, there was no social media, not so much internet. You had not much idea about this, how the life will look like. You just had the intuition, okay, there's something true, let me have a try. And then it started also with this learning process, how to manage yourself. That was all very difficult, but I had the interest and also enough curiosity to establish all of this. Once I have the feeling it's not something for me, probably I'll stop. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your answers. My question is the following. And let's say in the parallel universe, the butterfly effect, something happened differently in your childhood, and instead of choosing the path of a musician and ever even learning to play music, there was many different choices and you chose something different to do professionally. What could it be?
I would think probably a writer. I was always very fascinated. I was always fascinated about writers. I mean, or journalists or writers. I was very keen reading literature such as, I don't know, like Hemingway, or like Stefan Zweig, or like Thomas Mann. I mean, all these writers. I mean, especially Hemingway. I think as a writer, you're traveling a lot when you're somewhere, and then you're also an observer yourself. You observe lives, and I like details very much, and this also could be very inspiring. And yeah, but also, I mean, as a teenager, I wrote some books. I also read a lot of poems, books, novels, and this and that besides piano playing. But I could not consider myself as, for example, a dentist. I mean, I adore them. I mean, when we have problems, and then you adore these people, you're thankful that they are there. Or I don't know, like a police officer, right? Yeah, a musician, a pianist. I think that's the destiny.
Okay, thank you so much for your answer. Mine would be, before your great career, there were some rejections in the early stages of your career. How you were handling them? What was the rejections and what was your hard times? And is it happening from time to time now?
Yeah, I mean, as I told at the beginning, you need to learn yourself how to manage your career, how to approach people. I don't know how about your guys. What would happen once if you started to prepare like files, for example, how to prepare a presentation to sell yourself as an artist on the market, or you market yourself, and then when you started to talk to people on the phone to sell yourself to the orchestra director, who I am, just be on the phone to capture them and then make this happen. Sometimes also I had difficulties. There was like days I had the feeling, no, it's not for me. I just don't have enough courage to be on the phone. I have the feeling that I could capture them and make the deal happen. And sometimes even I have to feel myself, oh no, I'm too weak. I feel myself weak. I don't have the power and the strength to pull through. Many of those moments. And from time to time, it's still, sometimes you still have doubts. Is the right thing for me? What it's going to look like after 5 years? Or will you just leave yourself like for current? Many things, very many things. But in the end, I think we need to sit down and then to find yourself a way to satisfy. I mean, to satisfy, to have the feeling that you're not losing any self-confidence. You have to be aware of how you self are, and you know what you can, and all of these weaknesses, which are just so normal. Doesn't matter physically, mentally, or emotionally. And the next day will be a good day, and life will goes on. And then I think everything will lead you to the place where you will be. You have to really trust yourself and stay strong, especially in our profession.
What an inspiring way to finish our talk today. Haiou, you are a magnificent guest, and the way we spent those 2 hours right now with you, I think, got us lots of inspiration. My last question to you basically is, how did you like the experience? How did we do?
I have to really say that I mean the questions were all very well thought, and it's a great experience to exchange in such a direct way to all of them, because I think communication is still the most important key. It doesn't matter from which aspect. I think this communication will inspire each other, but also prepare all kind of different possibilities to further ideas, not matter artistic or just from practical like marketing and sort of sense. I think it's very important to be in touch or to stay in touch somehow. And in the end, I think help each other, support each other, to make each other stronger is still the best way to approach. Although in our field, it's sometimes not very easy.
Exactly. My last question to the students: how did you like the experience, and how did you like the answers? So after this kind of reaction, feeling that might not be our last podcast, so I want to invite everyone also to give us a comment. How did you like this experience yourself? How did you like our guests, our hosts, our team, basically? And also subscribe, give it a like, share, because obviously without you, the YouTube will just, get rid of this video. And then basically on our channel, you will find not only wonderful and inspiring stories like these in the future, but also a great amount of videos that are made by our students. So with this in mind, all the very best. Let's see each other at the KPM 2026.